Hey everyone, we are Team CONSO and we are participating in the Data Economy and Marketplace track of Walrus Hollow Hackathon. To address some of the problem statements we are solving, here are a few of the important ones. A user creates value on several platforms on the internet, may it be creating videos on YouTube, create streaming on Twitch, discussions on Reddit, blogs on Medium, etc. But there's no unified layer for connecting these signals all together. At the same time, consumer identity and value are more fragmented than ever. We also have brands struggling to acquire high value users across platforms, making campaigns more expensive and bot prone. There are a lot of platforms that are addressing this issue. For example, we have Kaito, Cookie, Wallchain, etc. These platforms only capture signals on Twitter, which end up missing 90% of consumers' real footprint. At the same time, cross platform value distribution is impossible to measure. So brands want presence everywhere, but each platform has its own metrics and they are very close sourced. So this creates a lot of coordination problem with no single reputation or quality score. At CONSO, our vision is to build the next generation of consumer intelligence layer. We are creating the foundation of reputation layer that bridges brands, users, and ecosystems through a verified high signal consumer intelligence. We aim to make consumer data across platforms a new form of asset class that is rewardable and recognized. Our core product offerings include the Consumer Passport, which is basically a dynamic map of a user's real digital footprint on the internet. We aggregate your data across socials, gaming, creative platforms, AI platforms, on chain signals, etc., into a high value unified consumer graph. So, this gives brands a high signal view of who their users actually are on the basis of real activity and data. Our second product offering includes smart campaigns. So, smart campaigns are essentially AI powered campaigns on top of Conso's consumer graph, which is the data that we have collected from users across platforms. So, they enable us to run targeted, precise campaigns that end up distributing rewards to the right set of authentic users that actually bring value to these ecosystems. Now let's move into who can participate on console. So it's literally anyone who is a gamer, creator, developer, a community member, or just a normal everyday internet user. So console helps you turn your information into value. So you can start tomorrow by joining console and building your own consumer graph. So we have our own point system named Zaps. So Zaps quantify your value across all of the platforms. As a user, you can earn Zaps for your real activity across platforms, unlock badges for hitting certain milestones, and you can also be eligible for direct rewards from brands and participate in smart campaigns. Sorry. So the reward loop is very simple. It's real activity that feeds into real reputation that ends up getting you real rewards, right? So these are some of the core examples of how our smart campaigns would look like. So one of the top examples I would say is like, let's say a Web3 project wants to run a leaderboard for verified X or Twitter engagement. So this is exactly what Kaito or Cookie does, right? So we could do it tomorrow because X is one of our core platforms in the console's consumer graph. And we can do much more. For example, a deep tech infra protocol launches tomorrow and wants technical articles on Medium, and they are ready to give away incentives for it. So we can run a campaign for them and build AI scrapers that can actually recognize this data and smart contracts end up rewarding the right set of users who are bringing in that value. Now let's take in a third example. So for example, uh, like let's say there's a gaming studio that wants to distribute its tokens to only like top GTA 5 gamers on PlayStation, etc. So now this is possible on CONSO because we have gamified the entire process of data collection and ownership, right? So all of this data is now powered and stored on Walrus and is completely controlled by the user. So he himself can authenticate and uh, prove that he meets a certain condition and claim the rewards. The rewards themselves can be in assets of different choices. It might be stables like USDC, DT, or NFTs, tokens, in-game assets, etc. We also build out mindshare leaderboards that increase visibility, participation, making incentives end up with the right set of users. So this is how our core infrastructure of the platform works. So we have built data ingestion from 20 plus platforms, as I mentioned, like in various segments like social, AI, gaming, etc. And all of this data is actually processed and then fed into our Conso consumer intelligence layer. This then ends up feeding our consumer passport, which is essentially a consumer graph NFT, and our scoring algorithm, which is ZAPS. And all of this data is encrypted with seal and stored on Walrus. When it's stored on Walrus, we later process it and use this to build out InfoFi and Mindshare leaderboards. So brands can now come up and run an interesting data backed campaigns in a much more gamified way with lower cost of user acquisition. And all of this happens on the Sui blockchain as a transaction settlement layer. And we also use Inoki as one of the wallet abstraction service. Some of our core partners include Walrus, Vana Network, HoloHive, Poster.fun, Audata, and many more. We also have our early access form open. This is the form link, and we have already received interest from more than 2000 plus verified users to try out our initial launch. Now it's finally demo time. Let's go through some of the mockups of how the platform looks like. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to request you all to sign up in our early access and be part of our early testers. Thank you again.